The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Okay, there you have all the damn puns I could have made on this video. Are you happy now? The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess was released on 2006 for the GameCube and as a Wii launch title, looking to appeal to more hardcore gamers with its innovative motion controls. Of course, it was a huge success in both consoles, but I can't help but think that this is the perfect example of the Zelda syndrome. What is the Zelda syndrome exactly? Well, it can apply to other game series, but when a new Zelda game is released, it is incredibly hated, while the last one gets new praise. It happened to Majora's Mask, it happened to Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess is no exception, seeing as now Skyward Sword is being hated on, something that I bet will change once the Wii U Zelda is released. So, I finally got to try out the Wii version of Twilight Princess, wondering if it really deserved all the hate/love it got and gets. What is my verdict about one of the most unique Legend of Zelda games Nintendo ever made? Well, if you read the title, you know the drill. I will give you my full review on it. What they did wrong, what they did right. Well, just sit down and enjoy the fourth installment of ObsidiusFan Reviews. There is one word that I will constantly use during this review, and it is slow. Indeed, there is a lot of stuff in Twilight Princess that is slow, tedious and just plain boring. This is more prominent in the gameplay, but it also affects the story, since it really takes its time to develop until the more interesting parts. But I think it's worth it at the end, since it's a well-written story. You play as, obviously enough, Link, the boy, a young boy from Ordon Village who lives a peaceful life with all his friends and family. But, one day, dark creatures from the realm of Twilight start invading Hyrule with darkness and turning everyone into ghosts. Luckily, because of the Triforce inside him, Link gets turned into a wolf instead. He meets a creature from the realm of Twilight called Midna, who tells him that they can stop the evil Twilight ruler Sand from conquering Hyrule by collecting all the parts of the powerful artifact known as the Fused Shadow. So now it's up to you and Midna to save their land. I won't say too much about the plot because it contains its fair share of plot twists and situations, but it's overall a very enjoyable story that just fits with the rest of the game, and it will give you enough motivation to go on. Granted, it's not the most original plot ever, since it follows the classic cliché of light versus darkness that we had seen many times before, and it can feel extremely generic at times. Not the best Zelda story, but I like it. Despite this, almost every character is likable and memorable, even the mundane NPCs, just as you would expect from a Zelda game. However, there are two special characters that I have to mention, Midna and Sand. Midna is possibly the best companion Link ever had. She is useful, sarcastic and fun, but she also holds a sadistic and vengeful personality. On the other hand, Sand is an excellent villain. With a creepy design and attitude and a great backstory, taking down this bastard is just very enjoyable. As expected, Nintendo really did their best so Twilight Princess sounds and looks perfect, and they did a very good job in my opinion. Obviously enough, the Wii version is a little bit better than the GameCube one, with some great graphics. The characters look charismatic and unique, and the environments have a lot of variety in them, especially in the dungeons, where you can see some of the best level design in the franchise. These levels are creative and fun, but we'll talk about them later. Overall, the presentation is perfect. Well, almost perfect. I must admit that if there is something that I don't like about Twilight Princess's graphics, is how dull and boring some of these environments are. I mean, other Zelda games like Wind Waker or Majora's Mask feature worlds with lots of color and charm, but this one feels rather generic at times. Just a minor complaint, however, since the world itself looks as beautiful as right joke about somebody beautiful in here. Oh fuck! Now, I won't talk about the voice acting because this is a Zelda title. There is no voice acting. Yeah. But the music is one of the game's strongest points. Just like in every other Legend of Zelda, the overworld and dungeon music may not be entirely memorable, but most of the themes in the boss fights and cutscenes are amazing. Not only these tracks are memorable and well designed, but they can create some wonderful atmosphere, and it overall really makes you feel heroic. Overall, this was an amazing job by this guy! As you should know, it's common for Zelda games to be divided in two parts because of the story, and it's also common to have different dungeons in which Link has to solve puzzles and defeat a boss in order to find something. Obviously enough, Twilight Princess is no stranger to these classic Zelda tropes. However, I have to point out that this game's biggest flaw: everything that happens outside of the dungeons during the first half of the game is boring and tedious. Indeed, it was really hard for me to get into this game, and most Twilight Princess players will agree with me on here. Would you like to play an opening to a game that is 3 times longer and boring than the awful Roxas opening in Kingdom Hearts 2? What's that? You said no? Oh, that's too bad, because you will have to deal with it! I truly don't know what happened with the first half, but this opening is full of uninteresting dialogue, tedious fetch quests and boring minigames. And even after the excellent first dungeon, you will still have to deal with this kind of stuff, like when you have to collect the Tears of Light as Wolfling. It's just not fun. Of course, there are some exceptions, like the sumo wrestling against the Gorons, but it doesn't keep this first half from being frustratingly boring. However, don't let all of this to prevent you from trying out this epic Zelda game. After the first 3 dungeons, the second half begins, and the game really gets immersive and entertaining. Now you can transform into a wolf at any time, the times between dungeons are very short, and you even get to do some really fun missions, like a shooting challenge at a western village that makes you feel like Clint Eastwood. Link Eastwood. Anyways, my final conclusion on this tedious first half issue: don't let it take you away from the experience. After you gather all the parts of the fused shadow, the gameplay really starts to get dynamic and fun. It's really worth it at the end. So, after mentioning the dungeons so many times, I guess it's finally time to talk about them, right? I mean, after all, they might be the most important part of a Zelda game. My verdict? Man, this game has probably the best selection of dungeons in the entire franchise. They are mediocre at worst and incredibly entertaining at best. They are all different from each other, every one of them with their own music, items, enemies, environments and puzzles. You will really enjoy yourself inside these fantastic levels. Also, my favorite thing in gaming is very prominent in here: boss battles. Oh my god, ever since Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix that I had such a struggle deciding my favorite boss in the game. You have Armagoma, Blissetta, Argorok, Stalor, Sand, and much more. They all feel epic and satisfying, and it's possibly my favorite thing in the entire game. So, I praised the dungeons and bosses. Isn't it something else left to talk about on a Zelda review? Oh yes, the items. I won't lie, I don't think Twilight Princess has the best selection of items in the series, but it is still a very enjoyable selection. You have new ones like the spinner or the ball and chain, and even upgrades for the classics like the bomb arrows or the double claw shot. My only gripe with the creative new items is that you barely find any use for them outside of their respective dungeons, but it still feels great being able to use them anytime you want. Handling the items themselves came out as incredibly natural because of the new motion controls. It's your basic stuff. Just use the Wiimote to point and shoot and swing it in order to use Link's sword. Simple but effective. This control mechanic works wonders for this game, and even if the technology was improved by Skyward Sword years later, I still really like it. As I mentioned many times before, Link can turn into a wolf because of the Triforce inside him. This is a cool concept and all, but how does it feel to actually play as a wolf? Well, it's rather hit or miss. I mean, it actually feels very fun and badass, but during the first half you are forced to transform at specific situations, but after getting the Master Sword, you can now do it at any time you want, leading to some creative puzzles that combine both the wolf abilities and the human abilities. Overall, it's a fun gameplay mechanic, but I prefer playing as regular Link. And of course, your adventure with this game won't be over once you beat it. Like every other game in the series, Twilight Princess is full of side quests to do and hidden items to find in order to get more things for your inventory. You can even learn some sweet battle techniques from a past reincarnation of Link. It's all satisfying being able to do more stuff even after beating the game, and I am sure completionists will enjoy it. Before we jump onto the conclusion segment, I want to address a frustrating situation I had with this game, and I think it's best I warn you so it doesn't happen to you. At one point of the game, you will have to search for the secret symbols in the statues around the overworld, so your friend Shad can open the path for a giant cannon in order to fly over the next dungeon. The problem is, if you save the game inside the cannon room before you tell Shad to leave and load it later, he will disappear and you won't be able to teleport the cannon nor leave the room. Indeed, I found myself with a game-breaking glitch. I really couldn't believe my bad luck. I just happened to save in that exact moment in the game where you were not supposed to. I was so frustrated with this. Granted, the glitch has been fixed in newer copies of the Wii version, but I try to be careful when playing. Luckily for me, my friend Andy had a saved game right before this statue side quest, so I was able to pick up from there. It's just a silly story, but that stupid glitch really drove me insane, and if it wasn't for Andy, I wouldn't be able to speak about Twilight Princess today. Just be careful, people. And I am sure Shad is the true villain of the game. Just look at his stupid face! Opinions on The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess is rather divided in the Zelda community. Some people hate it with passion while others love it to death. Personally, I think I am stuck in the middle. I like this game, a lot, but there are some obvious flaws that prevent me from loving it. Twilight Princess obviously received a lot of backlash when it was released because of the Zelda syndrome. I can confirm that. Now today has received some fair price, but even if I really like it, it was still very hard for me to get into it. Overall, I think it has the same level of quality as any other Zelda game, but since it falls flat in some areas, it's far from being the best in the entire franchise. The characters, the dungeons, the bosses, the items, the motion controls and the music are just the best part of the game, and if you consider that's the main stuff Zelda gamers look for, it's rather satisfying. Trust me, there is just so much things you will like about this title and you will just have a lot of fun if you can get past the flaws, like the slow pacing, the tedious opening and the dull environments. Overall, my final score for The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess is an 8.5 out of 10, and I will label it with the word misleading. Indeed, don't let this game confuse you at first with its boring story and tedious gameplay, because if you are patient enough, the plot will get really interesting and the gameplay gets extremely fun. I am sure the Wii version with its motion controls and better presentation is slightly better than the GameCube one, so I say you pick up this one. And with that, I end this review. Please tell me, what did you think of this review? What do you think about the game itself? What games do you want to see me review next? I'll be waiting for you in the comments section. My name is ObsidiusFan and thanks a lot for watching. I will see you guys next time.